empire in the making at the emergence of the 20th century. The Spanish-American War ended in 1898, allowing the U.S. to gain sovereignty over Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. Faced with new territories, the government of the United States would have to alter their isolationist foreign policy in order to control over their territories and to promote democracy. Theodore Roosevelt entered the executive office in 1901, following the assassination of President McKinley. His main goal regarding foreign affairs was to emerge the United States' influence on the world stage. The president was famously known for his belief that the United States should speak softly and carry a big stick. Hence, through his big stick policy, Roosevelt aimed to maintain peace with other nations while still keeping them aware of America's military capability. In Venezuela, as European nations began to boycott due to the nation's unpaid debt, Roosevelt quickly jumped in to save the nation's economy. America's intervention within the region quickly led to Roosevelt issuing his corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. His concept stated that the United States will intervene using military force in Latin America, if it has to, in order to protect the nation's economic interests. One of TR's most significant achievements regarding his foreign policy was the creation of the Panama Canal. Roosevelt inspired a revolution in Colombia when negotiations for the canal failed, leading to the creation of Panama. Through the new nation, the United States was able to gain control over the canal, and thus construction commenced in 1904. The Panama Canal allowed America to have a far quicker passage from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, and vice versa, dramatically helping trade as the United States grew into an economic power. TR's policy went out the door when William Howard Taft became president in 1909. Taft was far more devoted to America's foreign trade than Teddy Roosevelt. His policy was named dollar diplomacy, and as the name states, his goal was to increase U.S. economic investment in the Western Hemisphere. The president sent government officials to advertise American industrial goods and military equipment overseas. Taft was also compelled to use military intervention in other nations, such as in Nicaragua and Honduras, for economic pursuits. Taft did not win a second term in office. Thus, Woodrow Wilson took hold of the executive position in 1913. Unlike the previous presidents of the 20th century, foreign policy was second in his agenda. He believed that intervention for economic gain was selfish materialism. Therefore, Wilson advocated for the United States to make the world safe for democracy through Wilsonianism. Even though Wilson was not fully swayed by his foreign affairs, his policy was unique in American history. He advocated for the opening of global markets and created an international organization in order to maintain peace. Wilson sent military troops in Mexico and Haiti in order to promote ideals. Wilsonianism's high point was during the First World War. Wilson wanted more than anything for the United States to remain neutral. Unfortunately, wartime trade made neutrality difficult, and as Germany destroyed Allied boats and threatened Mexican alliance, Wilson was forced to declare war in 1917. Wilson throughout the war aimed to create peace amongst the nations. In his 14 points, he advocated for freedom of the seas, the reduction of arms, and an end to secret agreements. A major part of the 14 points was the League of Nations. Although the United States never managed to join the League, the failure of this organization would lead to World War II. Another factor that would cause the Second World War was the Treaty of Versailles, which led to the creation of the Nazi regime. The United States saw a drastic change in foreign ideals from 1901 to 1920 as the nation emerged on the world stage for the first time. From maintaining new colonies to intervening for economic pursuits to spreading American democracy, and finally to emerging as a force internationally during World War I, the early 20th century saw an emergence of foreign influence that would later spark future wars and change foreign policy for good.